Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Wakar Kadash, and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahweh, and His unbegotten Son Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. The Lashmagash will tell me, and I say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwaf, when I say Shalom. And the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew of the Lashmagash tongue. And I say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwaf once more, and I say Shalom. And this is a sit-down lesson of the prophecy updates as of January the 10th, 2026 on this Saturday noon. And you really got the division between the Edomite nations, which said, what's that, St. Mark, the 3rd chapter, if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom not stand. We definitely start to see the increasing division between the Edomites. Idumea, Ishashra, Hidden Waste Away. And it says January 10th, 2026, it reads, it says from World News from RT.com, it says UK Defense Secretary names world leader. He will like to KIDNAP. Huh.
Taking back home today.
That's what he said. I don't know what man gonna do. Man tough.
Hello, Moto.
Yeah, when I said ass is calling hunger like you.
Yeah, it's a scam. Yeah. Don't what y'all had said would be that was not. Who? Come on for what? That girl. She called me. Look like she called names. I don't know what you talking about, but we've been bullshitting. That's good. You been here, that man got his call out there. Been there the wrong time. Talking about some shit and everything. That's all that. He could have been on and got 5 or 6 checks. If somebody do it, she gonna have to be to pay me. I ain't got to get before 2 o'clock. Well, she got to work.
She's gonna be here before 2 o'clock. Well, Dean gone.
That was quick.
Dracula. Make sure you don't be mixing Hydra.
Salakia, for that momentary pause. It says John Haley commented to have come in the wake of the U.S. capture of Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro. The UK Defense Secretary John Haley had said he would KIDNAP Russian Vladimir Putin if given a choice out of all the world leaders. The British officials was answering a question from the Kharkiv Independence during a visit to the Ukrainian capital on Friday. His comment came a week after a U.S. capital, Venezuela. Uh, his comments come after the week capture of Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro and his wife in a military raid on oil-rich South American country. Maduro has previously warned that Washington wanted a regime change to get its hands on Venezuelan resources. The U.S. actions drew strong condemnation from BRICS nations, including Russia, India, China, and China and Brazil. It says, but also prompted a string of calls from Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, to adopt the same tactic against Moscow. Kyiv Independent asks Haley what he would do, giving an option of being able to kidnap any world leader. The secretary said it would take Putin into custody while accusing Russia president of war crimes, including kidnapping of Ukrainian children, something that Russian negotiators publicly denied during the talks in Istanbul last year. It says London has previously emerged as one of the Kyiv backers in the conflict.
What's called a baby too? Mark, remember I had some brown yellow boots like this?
Oh yeah.
You stole in the block. I get your bed show me Monday.
Okay, Monday. Okay. All right. It says London has previously emerged as one of Kyiv backers in its conflict with Moscow in December, with the British Chief Defence Staff urging the nations to be ready to switch to a wartime mindset in the event of the hostilities with Russia. Zelensky commented on the American raid by saying that the United States knows what to do next, and in a thinly veiled hint of Putin's kidnapping, U.S. President Donald Trump then dismissed the idea, saying it will be unnecessary when asked by a journalist. Ukrainian leader then openly called on Washington to kidnap head of Russia's Chechnya Republic. Yeah, I remember that article a couple of days ago that was mentioned from RT. Razmia Kalibro, if I pronounced that right. It says he quickly shot back, telling Zelensky to man up and try it himself. Moscow has denounced the abductions of Maduro as a gross violation of Venezuela's sovereignty. The Russian envoy to the UN, Vasily Nebenzia, described the U.S. raid as a boundary pushing the world towards a chaos and lawlessness. And that goes into that Second Thessalonians, lawlessness. He's been revealed in these other times. And that's what you call unrighteous creeds. What's that? Unrighteous creeds, Isaiah 10 and verse 1. But in the meantime, bring up that St. Mark, the third chapter, because we see in these modern day leaders of these Edomite nations being divided. This is St. Mark chapter 3, verse 20. I'm going to start at verse 23. This is the Gospel of Mark 3 and verse 23. It says, and he called them unto them, and he said unto them, in a parable, how can Satan cast out Satan? Right, so Yahushua mentioned that during his time in parable. This is being related in these times as well too in parable. St. Mark chapter 3 and verse 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom not stand. We definitely see the nation of Edom is being divided. Now we understand, the other nations and armies are being divided, of course, but we definitely really seeing the division between Esau, Edom, the red people, the Edomites. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom not stand. St. Mark chapter 3 verse 25. And if a house be divided against the house not stand. Right, the house of Edom is being divided. St. Mark chapter 3 verse 26. Hey, you got the Russian Edomites you got the European Union Edomites versus the Russian Edomites. You got the NATO Edomites being divided against the Russian and Belarus Edomites, former USSR, which they all divided, and that's what we're seeing. I think the only remaining nations are not divided is Belarus and Russia, but all these other Edomite nations, the European Union, NATO, and they all divided. St. Mark chapter 3 verse 26. And if Satan rises against himself, be divided, cannot stand to have an end. Right, so if Satan rises and be divided against himself, had an end, and that's what we're seeing. because a lot of these NATO nations, they used to be part of the USSR back then. Because I believe they divided ever since 1992. Last time I checked. And this is the book of Matthews. I just want to add a side note to that. Matthews 24 verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right, we're seeing wars and rumors of wars. The Russia-Ukraine situation is intensifying. We see in the European Union, NATO versus Russia, that's heating up. So these are signs of wars and rumors of wars. And then the president of the United States to threaten to strike Iran because these protests is taking place over in Iran. Oh, so Matthew 24 verse 6. As we see, the tensions are heating up between as we see, the tensions are heating up between the alliance of the Israel Defense Force and the United States armies potentially might use a nuclear strike against Iran. So this is what we're seeing in our world today. These are modern day wars and rumors of wars that Yahushua spoke about. It says, ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See, that should be not trouble, for all these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right, so it's going to come to pass, but it's not going to end just yet. And this is Matthew chapter 24 in verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation. Right, that's what we're saying. Nation shall rise against nation. And kingdom against kingdom, which goes into Ephesus. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right, that's what we're seeing, earthquakes in diverse places, which that's only going to continue to increase. Because I believe you had a 7.1 earthquake over there in the islands off Indonesia. And then we've been seeing the famines and pestilence are increasing right along with the nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom and the wars and rumors of wars. And these are the signs that Yahushua spoke about. And this is the Gospel of Luke 21 and verse 25. As I mentioned, those protests heating up over in Iran. And then you had some type of internet blackout and shortages of uses of internet access and social media. And you have the blackouts over there in Iran for the past, I'd say, 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. Luke 21 verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth, distress of nations. Right, that's what we're seeing, uncertainty among the nations, right along with the famines and pestilent plagues and the seditions among the nations. Just like the increasing protests over here in America and the protests over there in Iran and different type of uprisings and seditions among the nations. That's what we're seeing that Yahushua spoke about. This is going to occur in these times. And there shall be signs of the sun and the moon, right? The atom of the situation, different signs of the sun that we see in the skies that Yahushua is showing us. It says, there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth, distress of nations, like C-Rich 1, right? That's what we're seeing. And this is Matthew 12 and verse 25. And it reads, it says, and Yahushua knew their thoughts were the hearts of mine. And every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Right, so every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. And every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Right, that's what we're seeing. Verse 26. And if Satan casts out Satan, he divided against himself. Right, so if Satan casts out Satan, he divided against himself. How should this kingdom stand? So we're going to continue to see that increase. As it says again, the UK Defense Secretary names war leader he would like to kidnap. And that was Vladimir Putin. They asked him a question. I believe he had some type of press conference like a couple of days ago. He mentioned it. He said if it was his choice, one of the world leaders he would like to kidnap is Vladimir Putin. And this is from the UK Defense Secretary mentioned it. So that's an example right there that we see in the division between the Edomite nations. It says UK to spend 270 million on troops for multinational force in Ukraine. And I think that comes within the last couple of days. It was a declaration was signed between France and the UK, I believe. If Russia Ukraine sign a peace deal, they're going to deploy troops over there in Ukraine, France, and the UK over there in the UK. Because you had the representatives of the ministries of Russia was saying that's not a declaration of peace, that's a declaration of war. Hey, so that shows the indicator that the wars, the rumors of wars are only going to continue to heat up. It says U.S. siege another oil tanker in Caribbean. That comes on the heels of the many deal that the United States did with Venezuela. So expect to see the United States going to continue to do sanctioned oil siege over there in the Caribbean Sea and off the coast of Venezuela. Which they recently did to the Russian oil tank, I believe they released it right along with the people that was in the ship as well too. So that shows you that's something going to stir up more tensions between. That's something going to stir up more tension between nations, and that's what we're seeing. It says Kyiv mayor urged residents to evacuate, right? Because there's been a lot of heavy tensions been heating up between Russia and Ukraine, especially with those latest missile strikes. I think that was like the day before yesterday. It says, this is from January the 9th, 2026. It reads, Kyiv mayor urged residents to evacuate. Half of the apartment buildings in the Ukrainian capital has been left without heating. Vality Kalaskiko has said. It says, the Kyiv mayor of Vality Kaliskito has urged the city residents to evacuate, stating that some 6,000 apartment buildings in Ukraine has been left out without central heating. It says Kaliskill blamed the extreme difficult situation in the city overnight Russian strikes. Moscow has said it targeted drone production facilities and energy infrastructures and other military-related facilities across Ukraine in response to the attempt of an attack by the Kyiv regime of Russia's President Vladimir Putin residents in late December. I appeal to the residents of the capital who had the opportunity to temporarily leave the city, where there is an alternative source of power and heat to do so. Kaliskio wrote on his Telegram channel, stating that the overnight attack became most painful for the city of 3 million amidst the Ukraine conflict. It says, according to the mayor, nearly half of the Kyiv residence buildings ended up without central heating after the strikes. An unexpected number of buildings have also been hit by water supplies disruption. He said that the city authorities hope to restore the central heating for some of the affected buildings by the evening. The situation in the city's forests aggravated by heavy snowfall and low temperatures. Once again, this is Matthew 12, verse 25. And Yahushua know their thoughts, and he said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself cannot stand. That's what we see in Esau, Edom get divided. And this is Luke 12 and verse 51. It says, suppose ye that I come to give peace on earth, I take neighborhood division. Right, that's what we see in Russia versus Ukraine. You know, the European Union, NATO versus Russia and Belarus. As we see, these tensions are heating up between these nations. It says the elite Russian drone unit takes out Ukrainian army armor. Right, so that's wars, women's wars. It says a Russian NATO neighbor pull out of the key landmine treaty. It says a marketing facing pushback against Ukrainian deployment plan. Trump warns he may go the hard way on Greenland. Right, because I believe you had, Denmark, because I believe they part of NATO as well too. And they were saying that they don't want the United States to buy Greenland. So Trump was saying that, because I believe he had a press conference here yesterday about oil. They met with some oil companies yesterday. He was at a press conference. He was mentioning that, and we're going to have to do whatever it takes. We're going to go the hard way, the easy way, the hard way. Most likely, he was saying the hard way to purchase, or if it means by military force to take Greenland and buy it as well too. Mm-hmm.
20-something degrees.
Yep.
Ain't bad, it ain't zero.
Right.
Microchip. I put knuckle on my thumb.
Yeah, like you normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Tie my head up, I'm gone.
yeah.
Walking up the street. Stop and do whatever they got to do. They do. That ain't bad though.
No, not too bad.
Went back up again, I started, man, said, where that hammer for you? I said, come out, truck, come on, I want to get that. I'm not paying my money, I'm going to get that.
Yeah.
Put it in there.
Yeah, I think the best time to start it up again, I would say like, because Monday it's going to be like 41, and then Tuesday going to be 42. So
Started again, 4 by 1.
Wednesday, I think it's probably going to be like in the 30s. So I think like Tuesday would be the best time, or Monday. I think, yeah, because it'd be like in the 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah, about Tuesday. Yeah. Right. I'll go to some more news articles. It says, this is from PBS online. It says Greenland. It says Greenland party leaders form rejects Trump push for U.S. takeover island. This is 6 hours ago from ITV from Iran, Middle East. It says Iran rocked up by wave of protests as U.S. ramp up threats. Right, because the tension between Iran and the United States is heating up of a potential of a nuclear strike that the United States is going to use. It says that U.S. expressed readiness to facilitate constructive engagement between the Syrian Defense Force government. Right, because you've been having heavy clashes over there in Syria, especially Aleppo, because there was a news article, I think it was from the Associated Press, if I'm not mistaken, earlier today. They said it was like a drone strike hit a building over there in Aleppo, Syria. So that shows that despite the fact they welcome a ceasefire, which they included, a couple of days ago. So you're still going to have tensions heating up over there in the area, over there in Syria, throughout that whole region, especially over there in Damascus, despite the fact they welcome another ceasefire. This is prophecies about Damascus. This is the book of Isaiah 17 verse 1. The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and that shall be its ruin heap. Right, so throughout over there in Syria is definitely going to be taken away from being a city, and that should be its ruin heap. So it doesn't matter how many trust agreements, ceasefire agreements, it didn't last that long, and then tensions heating up between those proxy groups. So expect to see more heavy clashes and proxy groups and tensions between the nations throughout that whole region, especially the Israel Defense Force dealing with a multi-front war. They're going to continue to use airstrikes over there in Syria and throughout that whole region, going against the proxy groups and the pro-Iranian groups. And you're still going to have the more military expanding from the United States armies being expanded over there as well too, right along with the Israel Defense Force. So that's still going to store more tension between, the Israel Defense Force versus the United States armies and the Israel Defense Force. And this is Isaiah 17 verse 9. It says, "In that day shall his strong city be asked for, shaken, brought, in the uttermost branch, which they left, because the children of Israel there shall be desolate." Right, so that land is going to be desolate. And this is St. Mark 13 and verse 7. "And when ye shall hear of wars," and it said, "But when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be not troubled, for such things must need be." Right, Yahushua says, be not troubled these things, because it's must need be. Right, because it's going to come to pass. It's going to be fulfilled. But the end, it should not be yet. Right, but the end should not be yet. So on a daily basis, we're going to be seeing wars and rumors of wars, if the story might not be true or be true. So that's why we see a lot of wars and rumors of wars that Yahushua spoke about, that was going to show forth more and more these times. So expect to see these political wars, these trade wars, these economical wars, these nuclear wars, these tariff wars, these nuclear wars. It's only going to continue to increase between nations. And this is St. Mark chapter 13, verse 8. For nation shall rise against nation, right? North Korea versus South Korea, Japan, United States, China versus Japan, China versus Philippines, China versus the United States, China versus who's that? North Korea versus South Korea, Japan, United States, North Korea versus South Korea. We seeing Iran versus Israel Defense Force, the United States armies versus the Iranian armies. So this is what you call modern day nation against nation, the kingdom against kingdom. The Houthi rebels going against the Israel Defense Force, Hezbollah going against the Israel Defense Force, Saudi Arabia coalition forces going against the Houthi rebels. So these are signs of wars and rumors of wars.
Whopper, Whopper, Junior, Whopper, Double, Whopper, Triple, Whopper. Funny ass song.
All those cars. I'm surprised on a Saturday. Normally it'd be like just like a couple of them, like 2 or 3.
You up there too. Got so many cars back here. He just made a parking spot. Create a parking spot.
Damn. Dang. Oh yeah. Damn, that's the first time boy. I know their money is booming right now. They business boom.
Junior Whopper, triple, double, whipple. That's so funny as that. You remember the song Kanye? You remember the song that Kanye West made? True love, faster, true love.
Oh yeah.
Nah, that don't kill me. It only make me stronger. Faster, true love, faster, true love. I forgot what he said. Thriller, faster, true love.
That's super old. I think that was like an 09, 10, super old.
Damn.
That could have been.
That song is old as hell.
Yeah, that kind of lets you know how Kanye West been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Super old. He got that same full apple. He like a Franklin saying. Why do I want the fuss?
She just turned this his turn to his house.
Yeah, that weird. That dead fucked in that part. He was asses in the days.
Yeah, this nigga fucked up.
Hell no. Yeah, he was messed up. Heck yeah. Check out some more Slovakia for that. It says Russia used the Orshit missile for the second time. Oh man, for the second time. It says Syrian security forces enter Aleppo after clashes with Kurdish fighters. Right, despite the fact they signed that peace deal and agreed to it. It says U.S. intercept fifth sanctions tanker as it exert control over Venezuela oil distribution. As Tehran cracked down, Trump instance he will likely to stay out. Russia parallels import slump by half of amending tighter controls and control border delays. It says supporters of the UAE-backed separatist rally in southern Yemen as regional tensions rise. Yeah, another uproar sweeping the world. So I won't be surprised this continues to escalate a little bit more. It says this is from January 10th, 2026 at 8:27 a.m. and it reads, it says supporters of the UAE-backed separatist group rally in southern Yemen as regional tensions rise. Thousands of Yemenis has gathered in aiding to support the separatists backed by the UAE. It says aiding of Yemen, thousands of Yemenis gathered Saturday in southern city of Aden in a show of support for a separatist group by the United Arab Emirates a day after the group dissolved itself, following the heightened tensions as armed clashes with forces and internationally recognized government. Supporters of the Southern Traditional Council assembly in their stronghold distance district, where the Aden International Airport is located. Armed groups loyal to the STC were seen secured in protest area, according to a Associated Press. The journalist in Kaler McClassicar, if I pronounced that right, protesters chanting slogans. Saudi Arabia and the Yemen international government. They waved flags in southern Yemen, which an independent state between 1967 and 1990. Some were seen holding posters showing the council leader Al-Dashrias Al-Zabidi, if I pronounce his name right, who fled aiding to the UAE earlier this month. Video footage aired by the STC media showed Yemen, located a strategic southern interest of the Red Sea, have been mirrored for more than a decade in a civil war involved in complex interplay and sectarian and the tribal grievance and the environment regional powers. Saturday's protest came amid heightened tensions between U.S. allies and Saudi Arabia and the UAE and their year-long partnership in the war in Yemen's breakdown. It says established in 2017 councils were to umbrella the organization for the groups to seek to restore southern Yemen's and a independent state as it between 1967 and 1990. It received financial military support for the UAE. The Al-Zabrudai, who was who was a member of the Rural Presidential Transitional Council, was smuggled to Abdul Dabadi through the Somali after he reportedly declined to attend the escalation talks in Riyadh. According to Saudi Arabia, the STC delegations attended the talks last week and then announced that the dissolution of the separatist body. The Abdurrahman Jalal al-Shelidali, Secretary General of the Secessional Council, announced on Friday that the SEC will shut down all of its body and officials inside and outside Yemen, citing the internal disagreement and mounting regional pressure. However, Anwar al-Tamidi, a spokesperson for the council, contested the decision and wrote on X that only 4 council under its president can take such steps, heightening the internal divisions with the separatist movement. Tensions between Riyadh and Abu Dhabi earlier last month, and the UAE-backed forces took over the province of Hardmont, if I pronounced that right, on the borders of Saudi Arabia and Malhara. It said where they sieged oil riches and the facilities. They also sieged the presidential palace in Aden. After weeks of Saudi Arabia efforts to de-escalate, government forces backed by the kingdom launched an attack on the STC forces and separatists out of Haram, the presidential palace of Aden, and military camps in Malhara. The escalations in southern Yemen was the latest twist in the civil war that had gripped the country since 2014, when the Houthi rebels backed by Iran descendants from their northern stronghold and seized the capital of Sanaa and forces the international recognized the government to flee first southward, then to exile in Saudi Arabia. A Saudi-led coalition that included the United Arab Emirates entered the Yemen war following the year in the attempt to restore the government. The war has remained at a stalemate in recent years, and the rebels' recent deal with Saudi Arabia has stopped their attacks on the kingdom in return to end the Saudi-led strikes on the territories. Maddie reported from Cairo. And this is Luke 21, and I'm close it out. And Salakia for that background talk. Salakia. And this is Luke 21 and verse 25. It says, "There shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth. Disgressive nations will perplex Seabridge born." Right, so that's what seeing disgressive nations will perplex Seabridge born. Matter of fact, bring out one more or two more scriptures. So we're going to be seeing more and more division between the nations and more seditions. That's increasing as we're getting closer and closer to the great insurrection uprising. Second Esdras 9 verse 3. "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, uproars people world." Right, so more increasing earthquakes and uproars people world, which is only going to continue to increase. And this is the book of Second Esdras 15 verse 15. "For the sword that destruction draweth nigh, and one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands," right, as we're seeing among the nations. Verse 16, "For there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They should not regard their kings nor their princes in the course of action and in power," right, just like those protests over there in Iran and the protests over here in America as well too. Second Esdras 16 and verse 7.
Yeah, they took that baby from her. Jesus said she got to go to work. Jesus said she had to get God fight man. She already got God to fight man. All she got to do is sit on them face.
Right.
Until she want application.
Yeah.
And they'll send it to her. I really want to get back there on the way you want to do. You told me I don't want to be on that's a fucking bad. You trying to go with his head, keep telling her that. They get big and stamped in the money for fight man. He's sick. Like they'll never hold a job. So she went back home and do stuff. And just went the other way. I don't see it.
Must have left
There
that.
she goes. There go my daughter. In that little car. He's coming. He's going straight south Chicago. I'll be rolling for it. Tie that sucker down with some wire. Bring him.
Yeah, keep on going.
Yeah. Had to hold it down until I get a white flag. There's on.
Yeah.
Put the white red on the hood and keep on going. That's what I'm going to do. One of them little chains on. When you get down, shit, I'm good. I'm going to get the last before I eat the last pizza. I let the hood down, tighten it up tight. Put it into the hood, and you push it down and hold it.
Right.
And get my ass 7 pieces.
Yeah. This is Luke 17. Second Edge 16 and verse Luke 7. Second Edge 16 verse 70. But there shall be in every place in the next city the great insurrection upon those of Yahweh. Right, so we're getting closer and closer to the pushing of this full 100% of the insurrection was the uprising. And then you're going to have the leaders in power. They're going to have to interact the insurrection law. And we're seeing signs of that. So that's going to be potentially more discussion about that as well, too. Second Edge 16 verse 71. They should be like man, spirit not. Right, just like those protesters dealing with those leaders in power of those groups over there. Citizens protesting against the soldiers and the police officials over there in Iran, over here in America, and different parts around the world. So we're going to see citizens clashing against, clashing against their leaders in power. Yep, it says, for there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those who fear Yahweh. Second Edge 16 verse 71. They going to be like man, spirit not. Right, we see previous signs of that. Local officials, police officers, ICE agents, troops, and etc. You name it. They should be like man, spirit not, but spoiling and destroying those who fear Yahweh. Second Edge 16 verse 72. For they should waste and take away their goods and cast them out of the houses. Right, so that's what we're seeing. Spoil their goods and cast them out of the houses. And we're seeing previous signs over here in America. We're seeing that around the world. That's only going to continue to increase as we're getting closer and closer to the pushing of the great insurrection uprising. All right, so with that, hopefully this prophecy update was edifying of January the 10th, 2026 on this Sunday afternoon. And hopefully this was edifying of this prophecy update January the 10th, 2026 on this Saturday afternoon. Once again, as I mentioned once before. And with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Wakar Kodash, and the Heavenly Father, the true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Ba'ashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, Balash Mogash on the tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim Aqua, until next time I will say Shalom.